Diaz Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know, like a motherfucking smack at it. And before we get into it, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and I'm appreciative. So there's been a lot going on this past week, man, between the brothers, man, the blacks on YouTube and some of the Mexicans, right? Specifically, the homie Dubs has been going through some stuff as far as people twisting the narrative on his stories and feeling some type of way. And I've noticed on YouTube, it's like that. People are going to take a story, and if they're not intrigued with the outcome, if they're not satisfied with the outcome, whichever outcome it may be, there's always going to be someone who tries to twist the narrative or spin it some type of way to make the individual story, telling the story, the bad guy. You know, don't shoot the messenger. This is Sparta. You know, this can't be a Sparta moment where someone gets kicked in a hole because they're telling you something you don't want to hear. You know, at the end of the day, you can do the swipey. You don't have to watch what's provided on YouTube, but you're always going to gain some knowledge, and it's always good to seek education. You know, especially if you're intrigued in, you know, the prison genre, whatever genre a lot of this may fall under. Now, there's a lot of brothers that were feeling some type of way, and there was a lot of Mexicanos, Chicanos that were feeling some type of way. See, once you got two strong ethnicities, two strong cultures, there's always been a clash, okay? It's an unspoken thing that happens between blacks and Mexicans. There's always a chip on someone's shoulder or some animosity. Now, people can sugarcoat it any way they want to. They could put cherries on top and all that. They could add preservatives. But at the end of the day, if you're righteous in the ways of thinking, if you know what it is, you already know that there's going to be some issues with black and brown. It's been going on for a long time. Now, the way I grew up in Northern California was a little bit different than Southern California. In Northern California, there was a lot of embracement, a lot of respect, a lot of love. Now, there were skirmishes, melees, fights, and all that on the streets between black and brown. It happens. Like I said, two strong minds can't seem to think alike. It just is like that. And even if they are thinking alike, they're not going to tell each other that. So when you have two strong groups, there always got to be someone that wants to be on top, a winner. You know, so when people drop, you know, certain content, you know, people don't have to agree. But some people won't even agree to disagree. They just want to talk shit. That's plain and simple, period. Now, in Southern California, there is a bit more history there of black and brown going at it. You know, a lot of turmoil, a lot of fighting, you know, a lot of audios shared and fighting over certain turf. But you understand that Southern California is much more congested than Northern California. So you have a lot of people in each other's backyards. You could have one street right here with the barrio, predominantly Mexicano, Chicanos, Sureños, Southsiders. And then right on the other side of the fence, it's all Crips or all Sangres, Bloods. And so there's going to be bumpings of heads. There's going to be a lot of tension. Now, that's not always the case. In some barrios, in some hoods, they do work hand in hand or there's peace amongst them. But we always hear about the drama before we hear about, you know, the good times. The bad times seem more entertaining than the good times, just what it is. You know, so in Northern California it was a bit different. There was more, I guess, not respect amongst each other, but a lot more business and willings and dealings. In certain areas, certain places. The Bay Area was much different from the Valley. In the Valley, it was more hardcore as far as gang banging going on between blacks and browns. Whereas in the Bay Area, there was more association because it was very urbanly influenced. There was a lot more blacks, so that's just how it went. You know, but YouTube is not the place for beef. Or maybe it is. It's the place for internet beef. That's what it is nowadays. So when I seen Dubs drop a video the other day and people start to go in on him, predominantly black people, they were feeling some type of way. You know, I wanted to talk about two individuals. One in particular, and then the second one. These guys are the most respectful, unbiased brothers I've seen on YouTube, and I felt I should give them their flowers and their respect because they deserve it. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Chill from 16 to Life. If you haven't tapped into his channel, tap into his channel. He did time. He's been through it. He's very educated. Of course, he's got a lot of love for his people. He fought on the side of his black people. And of course, he did what he had to do, which is what was asked of him and what he chose to do. But I love the way he carries himself a charismatic individual that gets straight to the point on his channel and doesn't show no bias. He's not pro anything. He's pro positivity, if anything, trying to get people and not glorify prison, but tell you his stories and things that he's a part of or was a part of. So that way people stray away from going down that line. You know, you got to live through other people. If you're young and you're not educated and you don't know and your big homeboys are not giving you the proper rundown, then people take it upon themselves to lace you with education. Not everyone has to do this. Not everyone has to sit behind a camera and explain the ins and outs of prison. They could just let you go figure it out like it once was for us in the 90s. We had to figure that shit out on our own. And it was a bad situation trying to figure it out because depending upon the yards you hit and the people you met up with, maybe they wanted to lace you up and maybe they fucking didn't. And that was up to you to decide what your next move was going to be. You had to make your next move your best move. You had to do some motherfucking power moves wearing shower shoes or preferably your boots. Because at the end of the day, man, what can go up definitely will go down. So I commend Chill on being unbiased. You know, when he talks about W's or L's, he doesn't play the race card. He doesn't, you know, say the brothers won every fight just because he's black or the Mexicans were more dominant because he has friends that are Mexicans. He keeps it straight, real, and exactly the way it was and the way it is from his perception. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that perceive things different. That's just prison life. That's life in general, street gangs to prison to whatever. Even as just a regular productive member of society, you go to work and you might hate on a man because he works harder than you or hate on a man because he gets a promotion. And always people tend to think, oh, he got the promotion because he was a wood or white, or, you know, you don't get the promotion because you're black or brown. But at the end of the day, the hardest worker usually gets the promotion unless he got some inside shit going on and then there ain't nothing you could do about it. Quit and go work at Taco Bell, right? But in everyday life, we go through these things and people that always put a negative spin on it and try to make it racial, come on now, man. Don't use that as a crutch. Not every person has racial tendencies or is tripping on your pigmentation of your skin. And that goes each way, black to white, white to black to brown, all that. No one gives a fuck, truly and honestly. There are those that are biased. There are those that are very superficial people and they project that type of energy. And at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide and decipher who to be around and who not. Them type of characters, when I see someone that uses the N-word or speaks on blacks in a derogatory manner, I distance myself from them. I don't check them. It's not up to me to check them. You know, if they're getting a little too outlandish, a little too crazy in my presence, yeah, I'll say, hey, bro, go say that to a brother's face. And I don't give a fuck if they're Mexican, white, none of that. That's how I feel because I wasn't raised that way to disrespect no man, no people, period. You know, I might have fun. We might cap and clown a lot. We might play each other out of pocket a little bit. But at the end of the day, man, when it becomes disrespectful, now we're taking it to a whole nother level. I commend Chill and his channel for being unbiased, for showing respect to all sides and just keeping it 100% real, no matter the outcome. Now, as you see on the thumbnail, this video is about Hoodie from the Hood, an alleged San Diego 40s Crip. You know, I respect the 40s. It's looking real sporty over there in the 40s. I did time with people from neighborhood 40s since I was very, very young. Some of the first Crips I met were from neighborhoods, 60s, 40s, the 100s, 90s. I met these guys while incarcerated down south, you know, in the Youth Authority. And the Youth Authority was different. I know I speak a lot about it. And there's people that go in on me. You don't really talk about prison, more so you talk about the Youth Authority, because that's where it all started for me. That's where the get down was the get down. That's where you had to put in work to earn the necessary stripes and acknowledgement of even being able to go to prison and walk them yards. That was where you earned your name and your reputation, okay? So being around a lot of Crip gang members, Bloods, Southsiders, Norteños, Bulldogs, that's where your name was made. That's where your presence was felt. And there was a lot of games being played and a lot of work being put in. And so at a very young age, I was thrust into a place. I put myself in that situation where I had to fucking fight or flight. And believe me, there was nowhere to flight to. There was no PC, protective custody. It was go to the hole, come right back out a few hours later. If you were lucky, you got a 24-hour stay in the hole, which we called the box, and then you were kicked right back out into that yard. So I gained a lot of respect for a lot of different groups, whether you were black, brown, it didn't matter to me. You know, there was times when the C-14ers, the Crip 14ers backed our play against Southerners. There was times when Crips, period, backed our play. So I got a lot of respect for brothers. But even more so than that, I was raised to have respect for all men. So I don't see skin color. I don't see cultural differences. I understand them. and I respect them, but I don't see a negative in that. Okay, you're never going to hear me use the N-word or disrespect a black. Now, I'm going to keep them and hold them accountable for reals. You know, I get tired of seeing the bullshit of people saying, hey, gun, stay out of black business, you know, and then say something derogatory to Mexicans or vice versa. You know, a Mexican telling the brothers to stay out of Mexican business. At the end of the day, if you put your business on YouTube or any social media platform, then it becomes everybody's business and everybody has the right to an opinion on it. That's just the world we live in. If you don't like it, do something about it. That's facts. You know, Hoodie from the Hood is another individual that I've had interaction with and I've been able to talk to. He's came on the lives with me and Dubs in the past. And I considered him not necessarily a friend, but an associate that I'm in agreement with. Okay, I agree with a lot of his philosophies and the ways he thinks. Okay, he's from San Diego. He's from the 40s of San Diego. Now, the 40s of LA did at one point in time have beef, you know, with Mexicans. I think LA is like that. There's a lot of issues and a lot of things that go on. In San Diego, the Crips mostly, and maybe not all of them, but especially I know the 40s, they get along with the Mexicans. There's never really been a lot of drama or a lot of issues. So coming from Hoodie from the Hood's perspective, I could understand where he doesn't have a bias against Mexicans. Those weren't his enemies. Those weren't the people that he fucking hated or went against constantly. You know, and that right there, guerra can ingrain into your mind. It can make you hate someone for their color or for who they are. That's facts. It does that. Especially when you're young and you're getting jumped on. Imagine you're black and you're getting jumped by a whole bunch of Mexicans constantly because they have the numbers, or vice versa. You're a Mexican, a South Sider, of course, or a Norteño getting jumped by the brothers. Then you're going to have a chip on your shoulder. You're going to have a bone to pick with these individuals. You know, and then that right there breeds hate and envy and all the fucking bad things that come in life. So I could see them type of people feeling some type of way. But again, as you grow and you progress into being a man, you have to set differences to the side and carry yourself, especially if you're a gang member or a prison gang member, you got to carry yourself with some type of professionalism and class. And the only way to reflect class onto other people is to lead by example. That's just how I was taught, man. I was very educated by those that knew what was up, black and brown. You know, a lot of people ask me, Gun, why don't you say the N-word? Why don't you use that statement? There's a lot of Mexicans that do. There's a lot of brothers that do. And I was taught by my people, it was low class. It was very unnecessary. There was other ways to handle your business. If you had an issue, you brought it to the table or you just fucking got off where you were mad at. You don't speak to someone in a disrespectful manner that you're really not willing to fucking engage with, right? So, you know, I talked to a brother, man, who was an OG, BGF, and he told me, man, he didn't even like brothers saying the N-word. He thought it was a very derogatory statement that was meant to keep the brothers down. And he understood that people utilized it as a buffer word, but it was something that busted his ears. And every time he heard even the brothers saying it, he would check those around him. But even more so, if someone from a different ethnicity, he felt they didn't have the rights to utilize that just as much as the blacks didn't have the right to utilize that. But that was his game that he gave me. And that right there let me understand some people feel a certain way about it. I don't give a fuck what people say as far as, hey, I grew up, it was cool, the blacks weren't tripping, or the browns weren't tripping off saying Mexican. There's a lot that do. You know, when I hear the brothers say Mexican or La Raza, I understand they can't pronunciate it, you know, because they can't roll the R because they're not Mexicano, and some can and some can't. I'm not saying they can't because they're black. I'm just saying I understand in most cases they're not being disrespectful, but there are those that are. You know, they say Mexican, and that word is derived. There's Mexicano, Mexican, and then there's Mexican. And most of the people say because they can't pronunciate it, but a lot of people say it and it's derived from a word called messy. You know, then the Mexicans, they're messy. They're dirty. You know, it's crazy how people project the same type of bullshit and what people have put out there in the past and continue. Even now it's 2024 and they're still disrespecting and very racial. It's weird. Hoodie from the Hood, man, is not like that. Coming from San Diego, I'm sure he's done time and been around a lot of Chicanos. There's a big Mexican influence in Southeast San Diego, Logan Park. You know, there's the cultural differences are not as vast as people think with black and brown. Everybody is in poverty. Everybody has went through a struggle. Everybody continues to go through a struggle every day. It's a struggle just getting up in the morning and going to work. Fuck it, it's a struggle to wake up. It's a struggle to go out there and not knowing if you're going to make it, if you're going to be able to provide for your family. It's a black and brown and white issue. It's a human nature issue. It's something that everyone goes through. So when I see all these people on YouTube and using these social media platforms to disrespect each other, to talk about who was harder in prison. Okay, prison is hard in itself, being that it's fucking boring, it's cutthroat, it's vicious, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. You know, albeit politics are different and they're played differently, and it's always going to be like that. You can't be upset with another group or another gang because they don't follow the same political reasonings that you have. And you can't think any less of them or envy or be jealous of them because you have to go through some shit that they don't. Now, when it comes to the Mexicanos, Southsiders, Norteños, even the Perro Chatos and Paisas, it's a very strict game. Politics are played to the fullest. You got very slim movement there. You know, you can get whacked or removed or disciplined or anything for the very smallest infraction. Whereas in history it showed that the brothers get away with a lot more. But again, that's their politics. You know, they play the game differently. Doesn't mean they're any less than. It just means they play it smooth with the purpose and differently. I've said in past, they have a street gang mentality, whereas a Mexican is more functioning up under a prison gang mentality. Okay, that's just how it is. And that's not racial, that's just the way it is. Now, when Dubs tells his stories, a lot of people trip because he talks about the Southerners being the more dominant group, but he's never said they have the majority of the numbers. Yes, they do in the California prison system have more soldados when it comes to the North and certain other groups, but you got one group, the Southsiders, taking on all blacks when it becomes that issue, when it becomes a black and brown issue, or no, I wouldn't say black and brown, a black and South issue, because it never has been a black and brown issue. Because if it was a black and brown issue, you'd have the Paisas, the Norteños, the Bulldogs, the Southsiders all clicked up together against the blacks, which would be the Crips, the Bloods, the Jamas, the Muslims, the non-affiliates, all that, and then that'd be some crazy shit. We've never seen that ever. You see isolated incidents between Southsiders, just like in Pelican Bay, and the brothers, or the North and the Kumis, or the Bloods, or the Crips, and however it goes. And it's just being professional. Wartime is wartime. It doesn't mean you got to hate the person because they're black. It just means, hey, at that particular prison, at that particular time, there was a discrepancy in the process of what was going on in the program. And it is what it is. You know, most people in prison don't realize, because they've never been there, to a real 4-yard, a 180, or a 270 design, or a 3-yard. So they don't understand that most pleito, most drama, most shit that happens within your own people. Okay, you're going to see more South on South, more black on black, more white on white, more North on North than anything. Okay, you don't hear a lot about riots and all that. You know, and then there's a lot of people that always try to say, well, black and brown are constantly going at it. Name 2 riots that you could think of right off the head in the last 25 years that you could remember where black and brown went at it. Let me go ahead and figure it out for you, because I know some of you don't know or can't understand that philosophy. We think about California prison riots, we think about Pelican Bay, and we think about the one that happened in New Folsom. Okay? There's isolated incidences between black and Southsiders or black and Norteños, but you can't think of big melees or riots. So when people constantly are fucking ingraining that into people's heads to make them hate each other, oh, that black and brown are constantly going at it, that's lies. It's not like that. Most of the pegadas and most of the removals that happen because there's trash on the yard, or someone fucks up and it's within your own car and it's cleanup time, and that's just what it is. You know, so everyone programs different, and social media is not a place to keep that fire going of what goes on in prison and keep that hatred going. And, you know, I see it in everything. I see it in sports. I see it in, you know, people always want to wolf about who's the best and who's this and who's that. And look, no one's going to agree. Okay, at the end of the day, no one's going to agree, because everybody is prideful with their people. And that's how you're supposed to be. Ain't nothing wrong with being prideful. But at the end of the day, pride doesn't equal hate. You could be prideful about your gente, but you don't have to hate the next man because they ain't what you are, right? Because they're still men at the end of the day. Men comes before black men. It comes before brown men. It comes before anything. It's men, period. So now, Hoodie from the Hood, I respect him and I commend him and give him his flowers, because he's another one on YouTube that does content. Go tap into his channel as well. That plays the game smooth, doesn't disrespect anyone, tells it the way it fucking is, and keeps it very professional in doing so. You know, I gotta respect that, man. That's why I've always showed him that level of respect, because I know what type of crip he is. He reminds me of Dubs, as far as I call him the Black Dubs, right? They have the same type of mentalities. They think about what they're gonna say before they say it. They don't just speak on issues that don't pertain to them. They kind of look and see what's going on before they stick their foot in the cold water, right? That's just how it is. That's the type of people that I like to associate with or be around. People that think about what they're going to say before they say it. See, you guys see the funny side of me. You guys see the character. You know, you guys, oh, Gunner's a J-Cat and this and that. But you never get to see the serio side or the philosophical side or the educated side of me, which I do possess and I do have. When you meet me in real life, you understand there's two sides to my coin. One that's very familiar and cool and relaxed, and we could play and have a good time. And then there's the one that's constantly thinking, you know, watching, being aware, staying up on pars, up to par and up on game, regardless of activities or non-activities. That don't mean shit to me. What means more to me is educating myself and respecting those around me, because if you project it, you'll get it. That's what I learned. That's true shit. That's real knowledge you can't get in college. So anyway, shout out to Chill from 16 to Life and Hoodie from the Hood. And I seen Hoodie, he did a video. He did a video yesterday about, you know, the video that was made about Dubs and the water fountain and all that bullshit. I've already spoke on that. I interviewed Dubs on my other channel. He spoke on that. So I don't want to keep dwelling on that situation. We want to let that go because it's really was frivolous and unwarranted, and there was no merit to it, right? If you really listen to it, Dubs was the one trying to prevent the bullshit with the black and brown, whereas it just continued to progress. And it happened how it happened. No one got punked. No one got told. No one got ridiculed. You know, the brothers knew at that point it was in their best interest to keep that going, whatever they had on the yard. And it just wasn't that serious over a goddamn water fountain, right? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it fucking is. Just depends on who's on that yard and how they feel that day. The brothers did not get punked. The Brown did not get punked. So here's another thing, man, I wanted to touch on. So shout out to Hoodie from the Hood for touching on that. I know that he's going to give his take on it and feel how he feels. At the end of the day, man, he's a well thought out individual, and I respect the way he's always showing the brown man love. You know, I'm sure he gets a lot of hate from his own people, you know, because it happens like that on the brown side as well. And it's crazy we have to say the black side and the brown side, but it's just the way life is, right? There's always going to be that line drawn in the sand, that separation. I'm sure he gets a lot of ridicule because he doesn't show hatred towards Mexicans. But again, this is a person who grew up with them that has really no hate in his heart for them. And he's going to tell you straight up winners and losers and who the fuck is the realest on the yard, man, whether it be black or brown on that particular day. You know, you can't win them all, but you can't lose them all either. It's just the way it is. You know, another thing that gets me is how people are constantly making everything a black and brown. There's, you know, black, there's brown, there's white. And I know a lot of the brothers' arguments is that, you know, if the Mexicans were so down, they wouldn't have to click up. Or I'm speaking from the Southsider perspective, right? Saying the Southsiders wouldn't have to click up with the whites. But for those of you that have been on yards and know, that's not the way it is. Okay? There's a lot of incidences, more so than black and brown. There's more incidents between Southsiders and whites than anything. You would trip out on it. Anyways, with that being said, I don't want to keep rambling, man. Shout out and respects to Chill from 16 to Life. Shout out and respects to, Hoodie from the Hood from the 40s. There are a lot of Mexicans and black that try to stir the pot and try to keep the shit going. Oh, man, these motherfuckers are racist. Oh, man, these motherfuckers, right? But if you only knew some of the things that happen behind the scenes and the narrative they're trying to spin, they're the ones that are holding their people back. No one else is. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I will be having Super Wood today on this channel this afternoon. Make sure you tap in. I will be having Super Norteño this afternoon on the other channel, The Collective Clips. If you haven't liked and subscribed over there, make sure you go. I have my second channel, and it's booming on all fronts, man. And we're going to continue to do what we do. Shout out to the blacks, the browns, the north, the south, the bulldogs, the paisas, the others. Everybody, man, who goes through the same fucking struggle in prison, and that's called being incarcerated, man. And that's never a good thing. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. And one more note. Since I'm right here, right? We got a little bit of time. You know that I always have something on my back screen, man. I try to promote good music and what I'm actually listening to, what's on my playlist. I had some Mexicano get at me the other day talking about, damn, homie, why don't you ever show love for the raza? Why you always got blacks on there? Why you always got blacks on there? Bro, I listen to the IZ Brothers, Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know what I'm saying? I listen to Young Briss. I listen to Mozzie. I listen to Cash Money, Lavish D. Guess what? I listen to Los Tucanes de Tijuana, Los Tigres del Norte, Vicente, Chalino, Yenny Rivera, everything, bro. Want to know why? Because I'm not racist. The gun, bang, bang.